So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start the recording, and then we can I'll start by charting BTC, and then we can move on to the rest. Okay, let's see. So it's called the first thing I usually do on BTC right now, whenever I'm like charting it, is I literally always add this channel, because this channel is such a nice indicator of like where price is, what it's gonna do, etc. Because you can just see, especially on the daily, right, how hard this kind of mid-range over here, the range highs and the range lows, how hard they actually get respected. So like, for example, over here, or over here, most recently, like you can see every time we like tap this level and actually close below, that we usually get a reaction off of it. And we can see that for the highs as well. Like every time we tap this level and then close below, we went lower. So that is usually the first thing I do whenever I open a new BTC chart nowadays. Yeah, what's up, Octopus? Hello. Because I think this is like the most easy way to chart BTC at the moment. And then some other channels I really like are the one from the last bull market, right over here. Because as you can see, like for example, these deviations right over here, like this channel just gets respected so much that I know that, for example here as well, that it's going to be useful in the future again. So on any macro chart, I want to have this charted. And this one right here, but for this one I kind of need a different preset. I need the negatives for this one, because this one does look really nice. Let's see, it's the last one, right? This one does look really nice, and it works really well. As you can see, even though I drew it like right over here, right? I drew it from 2 markets ago, like 2 cycles ago. You can see that it is still quite useful at predicting like macro candle closes or like support and resistance areas. So for example, this time in our current cycle, this is what we use to form our new all-time high, right? And this is kind of where we started this massive consolidation phase. So I do like to go back in time and just use very old channels for those kind of things. Okay, so I'll hide this one for now. Keep this one active. And then we do have some nice harmonics on this chart as well. I'm gonna chart like the macro bat I'm looking at. And apart from that, I'm gonna what's it called? Apart from that, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because I've posted this chart like very often, right? This is the chart that I actually always post. So I'm gonna just leave it like this for a second, and then we can zoom in on what's happening right now. Okay. So what's happening right now? Okay. In my opinion, we are still in a downtrend, right? We are still in a downtrending market because we are still making lower lows and lower highs. And not only that, but a few days ago, a few weeks ago, I think it was like 10 days something, we lost our range and deviated. We did close below, like we immediately, close above, we immediately reclaimed the range, right? Which was a very good sign. But what happened after that is something that kind of worries me, because we deviated really hard, all the way to like the full deviation pocket, to the 1.314, and we took all of this liquidity, right? We even took this wick over here. Like even this one got tapped. Or to draw a horizontal like this, like even this one got tapped. So we took all of the liquidity in this area, and even this wick over here. And you would expect, with that much liquidity taken, you would expect a swift reclaim, and quite possibly just instantly a reclaim of mid-range, right? Because you've taken so much liquidity, you would expect, okay, the sellers are gone now, people want to get in now. This is what, like, the moment people want to buy. And we did get that Swift Reclaim, which was really, really good. But we saw an instant rejection off of mid-range, which kind of worries me, because that instantly, to me, looks like we're going to go back to range lows. But there's not really much to get at range lows, because we already took, like, everything, right? We took all of the liquidity already. So the only thing we have at range lows are, like, these kind of wicks over here, or, like, a small demand zone here, small demand zone here. So it's like, I do think we go back to range lows, and we should get a reaction there. But if we don't hold it, that's going to be bad, because we have already taken so much liquidity. But for now, I am still thinking we just go and touch range lows and just bounce from that. Because I do still think, like, in the end, no matter how you look at it, because I'm just treating this like a regular range, right? So if we reject mid-range, we go to range lows, and we will see what happens after that. There's a very high chance we just bounce on range lows, and I do expect us to get a reaction at the very least, right? So I think this little area over here can be a very good place to go a bit heavier into spot or start some good longs. Because even though we are in a downtrending market, right, we can still expect reactions at significant support levels. So I do expect us to get some nice plays in there. And the lower time frames support this as well. So if it were to go on BTC, for example, like if it were to go on a 4-hour, we saw a really good reaction off of a Agarthy here, but I think that's not visible on this time frame. So I just start like this. Yeah, we saw a nice reaction off this Agarthy here. Just gonna put it right over here. Especially off of this 1272 from the B2A. If I were to draw it like this, you can see that we had a nearly perfect bounce off of that 1272 pocket, which was really good to see. Oh, I don't actually have this enabled. Which was like, I signaled it in my channel as well, right? Because I charted a lot today. So I signaled, yeah, I really expect this to be at least a temporary bottom here, but we didn't take any plays because I had like I was in and out of like 5 plays already that day. So I didn't want to overtrade it, so I just locked myself out of it. So we saw that reaction, and that is where our current pump, in my opinion, is coming from. Like this kind of reaction we're seeing here, especially over the weekend. It's simply because of that Agarthy reaction, right? We saw a good reaction to the Agarthy. We flipped like the 214 to 236 pocket into support, and instantly hit TP1, or well, hit TP1 first, and we didn't even go for a full type 2. Like we just rejected off the 214 236. Which is a really strong sign, so it's very natural for us to go to the 618 first. Now what happens here, that is where I'm not sure what the market is going to do, for the reason that we have now kind of completed this reaction off of the Agarthy. Like we have now tapped the T2, we have tapped the 618. So technically, this would be your second, kind of last technical target. You can usually expand it to like a 786 or like a 1272 or a 1618, but this is where your initial reaction kind of ends. So what I look for is situations like these, where if this reaction ends, I would go on a lower time frame, and I would look at what are we seeing here. So we can notice 2 things here. One, either I'm going to see like a lot of M shapes forming, right? For example, it could be a shark here, or like a cipher somewhere like this, or I'm going to see a lot of W shapes forming. So like a bat somewhere here, or we can go for like a type 2 of harmonic somewhere over there. And that is where I usually kind of get my bias from after one harmonic is done reacting. And after that kind of happens, that is what I use to judge, is this move going to stay or is this move going to return? So one thing we know, because we took a short on that a bit ago, is that there is a Agarthy here. I think this was the lowest wick. There was a Agarthy here. And we kind of still have that PRZ into play. Like we could still come back to that for a type 2. So if I were to kind of drag this to the right, we can see that 786 over here from the Gartley, I'll mark that as well, aligns really well with the deviation pocket, so that's what I'm going to use for my PRZ. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, by the way, I've started kind of manually extra drawing my PRZs for the reason that sometimes, for example, with a bat, yeah, especially with a bat, but with Gartleys as well, and for butterflies as well. Sometimes you'll have these PRZs that are like really spread out, and where you can kind of see, okay, so I do have valid ratios for a bat here, for like a 0.382 bat, for example, but all of these individual fibs are really spread out. So I kind of draw the fibs as well manually to make sure that the fibs are like actually tight in the same PRZ. Because if they are really spread out, then yeah, you might have a valid harmonic. But because they are so spread out, price is likely to still go through it. Because the idea behind harmonics is to put like a bunch of fibs in the same spot, like to have your ABCD alignments and have them align with fib ratios from different points. So from your XA, for example, and from your B to A point, which is why not only the ratios are important, but the PRZs itself as well. So, for example, this is our B to A. You can drag it as an A to B as well and use negative, so it's all fine. So this is our B to A, which I use to measure. And I'm going to pull the same thing again and kind of put it on that C point. Just drag it to the right again. Just like that. I'm going to do the same thing from B to C. So what we can see is, if I were to zoom in, that this Gartley has like a kind of heavy cluster of fibs in this area. And this is where they start kind of spreading out, right? We have a 1.618 over here, but after that they start kind of spreading out. So that is what I'm going to use for a most likely PRZ over here. It's going to start on this 1.27 and just drag it up to the 1.618. And that is my Gartley PRZ. And then I'll just get them out again. This is a bit more of a time-consuming way to do it. If you want to take less time on harmonics, right, you can just take the ratios and draw the pattern. So for example, for a Gartley, I'll just pull this one up. These are the ratios we're looking at, right? I'll color code it. So the green one. These are the ratios we're looking at, right? We're looking at this 0.618, what's called X to B. We're looking at an A to C in between the 0.382 and the 0.886. And we're looking at an X to D of 0.786. And for a deep Gartley, we would look at an X to D of 0.886 instead. Which, as we saw earlier, did form like this kind of valid area, but the area was not really that condensed in fibs. Like it was kind of spread out. So that's why we use this as a PRZ. That is one of the main reasons as well why I found this to be important on Gartleys, bats and butterflies, is because the Gartley and the bat both have alternations, right? You can have a Gartley or you can have a deep Gartley. So you either have this at a 786, or if I just pull this one up, or we can have a deep Gartley at the 0.886. So because the Gartley has kind of two versions of it, that's why I like drawing them manually. So we still have this Gartley into play here. I can see, like, we can see this kind of W shape forming here. I don't think this actually forms something. It could actually, yeah, it could actually form a butterfly. I think that is very slightly outside of 3%, but it should be fine if we draw them manually. We can take a look at that. So we can find... I'm gonna mark these out just to make it a bit more easy to follow. So we have a 1.618 here. I'm going to drag this out, put the exact same thing at C. And that is kind of where the trouble starts, because this 113 is really good. I can draw this 113 over here. But a 1272 is already pretty far considering a butterfly. Because butterflies are supposed to have like extremely tight PRZs, which is also why they have 3% tolerance instead of 5%. So seeing something like this already kind of tells me that, yeah, we have a butterfly here, but I wouldn't necessarily look to base a play off of it. Yeah, it's kind of the same story in this one. Why can I not edit? Kind of the same story here. We have like a... Yeah, I mean the 272 and the 2618 kind of align nicely. I will keep it here, because I do think we can possibly reverse here, right? But I'm gonna like kind of take a mental note that this is not gonna be my main short point. And turn it into a butterfly. And then the last one, and I'll do this one a bit more quickly. Since we already have two harmonics in the same spot, I know there's a bad here. So we have a 0.5 x to b here, right over there. Our A to C is valid because it's in between the 0.32 and the 0.886. And then I'm just going to pull the D point up to that 886. And we have a bad right over there. Gonna mark out the X to A. So now we kind of already have a really good area where if we were to go up, we could be looking for like either short positions or TPs in our longs right over here. And what I would do now is something I kind of keep a mental note of, but I'll repeat it here, and obviously if someone asks, I'll answer it. It's like, because our higher time frames are, in my opinion, still in a downtrend, right? Because we rejected this mid-range over here. Actually, this one is not supposed to be visible on the daily. Wait, what did I just... That was a fib. So because we kind of rejected this mid-range here, and because we are still technically downtrending, I would look to take any of these shorts. So that's kind of the thing I do for time frame alignment wise, is I use the daily for this, right? I use the daily to get a bias, reject mid-range, bearish bias, downtrend, bearish bias. And then I zoom in and I start looking, okay, can I take plays based off of that? Well, I could. There are some nice short POZs right over here. And how can I actually get confluence for that? Like extra confluence? Well, I can see, for example, a bearish order block right over here. I draw my order blocks as engulfing candles. I know some people draw them as like areas that are heavily traded, which is also completely fine. I just use that as a general zone, right? That's what I use my volume profiles for, to get that down, but a bit more precise. So I'm gonna mark this down as an order block. And I'm gonna pull a volume profile from this like kind of wave progression on the Gartley. So because I have a Gartley here, and because in my opinion, as I explained earlier, this kind of pump up is a result of this Gartley, I'm gonna use this Gartley to gain a bias. So I'm just gonna pull a volume profile right over here. I'm gonna look and kind of zoom in. Be like, okay, is there like a single area where all of this aligns, right? So we have all of these confluences. We have a volume profile from our Gartley. We have some order blocks. We have some reversal zones. So like these kind of PRZs over here. Is there a place where they all align? And yes, there kind of is. We have this VIH right over here, which really nicely aligns with our bat XA and our butterfly XA, and with this 4-hour order block that we drew. So this would potentially be an area where I'd look to short. Or if I was in any longs, I would look to I would look to take TPs here. And then we come to one of the more awkward parts of trading harmonics this way, is where do you place the stop loss, right? So what I've recently started doing, and you might have seen me do that a lot on my channel, is I would look for a reaction into this PRZ and for us to close the candle below. And I would treat it exactly as you would treat an SFP. So on the candle close, let's say we are looking at a 4-hour harmonics, right? Some of these would be like the butterfly would be considered a 1-hour harmonic or like 2-hour. But I would consider these a 4-hour. Yeah, I would consider this a 4-hour PRZ. So what I'm gonna look for here before I actually take this short or a similar short, right? I'm gonna look for a reaction to this PRZ. I want the price to go into it, and I want the 4-hour candle to close below it. If that happens, that is gonna be my trigger for a short. And the reason for that is that if we do that, we can create the like kind of reduce or like increase a risk to reward, because let's say you put your stop loss like right over here, right above this wick, where your stop loss is kind of inside of a new Gartley PRZ. So the play isn't actually invalid if this were to hit. So you would have to place it like somewhere over here, right above the PRZ, and your risk to reward ratio to like your kind of to your PUC even would be 0.7, which isn't what you want, right? Or to here would be like 1.5, which isn't something you want, because you would need to take this play all the way to range lows for a 4 risk to reward, and your 3 risk to reward is going to be somewhere over here on the bottom of this volume profile, which isn't all too bad, but it is something we can improve on, right? So that is why with shorts like these, I would just look for kind of a reaction over here and just place the stops like a bit above the wick. Like for example, I would take a fib of this wick. Let's say we shorted this, right? I will put a fib from the wick to the candle close and just put my stop loss above the 1.314. Because usually what happens is, yeah, price doesn't actually like trade in this area anymore, but you can get this kind of wick up and then a build back down. So that's what I use to kind of combat that. Yeah, I've been kind of just rambling on. Are there any questions or anything you're curious about?
Do you always take bodies only for your order blocks?
For my order blocks, yeah, because I use engulfing candles for my order blocks, right? So the reason I do that is because I'm someone that heavily believes that on the charts that these wicks are just an indication of, how do I explain this, of like price going against what it should do. So this, for example, these wicks could just be liquidations, right? We know, for example, that I'm just gonna remove this volume profile real quick for clarity. We know, for example, that in this area we had this event where on the Binance chart there were tons and tons of sell orders stacked over here, right? And what happened when price actually came close to that? Well, let's take it a bit slower. We had tons of sell orders over here, right? So what do people think when they see that? Well, they're gonna be like, okay, there are tons of sell orders over here. I don't think we get through there because like the institutions are selling or the whales are selling. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna layer their orders on the same spot, so they sell with them, which makes a lot of sense from like kind of order flow or liquidity perspective. It makes sense to kind of sell in that area because you can see these massive sell orders just lining up on the same spot. So these sell orders are like right over here, right? And now you have a bunch of people that trade liquidity books, or like order books, liquidity profiles, all of those things. And they're gonna take shorts based on this, right? They're just gonna put their stop loss. Like let's say you wanna enter the short over here because there's a wick here. And they're gonna put their stop loss like above this wick on the left. And now all of a sudden, you have a bunch of people with shorts similar to this one, right? Not everyone's gonna have the same short. But you have a bunch of people with shorts similar to this one. And then what happens is Binance once price gets close to it, they remove all of these orders. So all of these orders got removed overnight, right? And we got close to it. A lot of people still had their shorts here, and we just wicked through it because there's so much liquidity there that we just kind of wicked through it. Price does not actually accept there because price shouldn't be there, right? These are forced buys of people that had their short stop loss there. So they sold and then their stop loss forced them to buy. So price went there, wicked above, closed below because buyers could not keep it there because it shouldn't be there, right? These are liquidations. And then you still close below like your actual kind of demand zone area. You can see it like something like this. You still close below that area. And that kind of confirms, okay, price didn't actually accept above, we are going down. So that is the reason why, for example here, I take the candle bodies instead of the wicks. Because this would be my significant high judging by bodies, right? But if I were to take all of these wicks into account, then we would have like kind of broken our high over here. Because if you look on a wick to wick basis, this will be your high, this your low, this your high, right? And this wick would break your high. So that is why I use wicks for everything fib related, and I use candle bodies for everything liquidity related. And wicks are something I look at for liquidity, but I use it in a way that these wicks are kind of what I see as targets. So for example, on our build up right over here, we have a tons of wicks that we haven't tapped. So wick over here, wick over here, wick over here, that we didn't tap at all. Like all of these wicks haven't actually had price go through them. Which is like a kind of extra confluence that, yeah, I think this is just gonna get tapped. Because everyone that longed right over here put their stop loss slightly below it, right? If you're long over here, you would put your stop loss somewhere right over there. And let's say you're long over here, you would put your stop loss somewhere over there. And so on. So if these wicks don't get tapped, then these wicks, in my opinion, are not actually valid to see as like this kind of support or resistance area. These wicks are valid as, hey, I think price is going to go to this area and react to it. So for example, just go below and then go back up and close above. Or just go below and bearish retest it after. So that is why I use candle bodies for that instead of wicks.
That's a great explanation. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Your question. Okay, so enough bear talk, right? Let's look at the things we can actually target. Because for the record, these are kind of the areas I'm looking for, but I also obviously have like kind of areas down here. So let's see, I haven't actually charted the bullish targets in a while. So we had a kind of bad area here, but I think it like kind of transformed into a shark by now. So we should have, it is kind of 0.382 x to b right over here. Yeah, and it's a nice 141 A2C. So we should have a nice shark. Yeah, we have our shark 886 right over here. Just mark it out like this. Shark 886 right over here. And something, because I know a lot of people, especially in this server, right, are trying to learn harmonics. Something important for sharks to keep note of is that because sharks are like a kind of combination pattern with 5-Os, they are unique in a way that X to B is important, but the most important part of a shark, apart from obviously your like X to A retracement being point D, right? So this 886 in this case. Kind of the second most important ratio would not actually be the X to B on a shark. But because you are playing like a kind of an extra wave structure, like sharks are kind of a 6-point structure rather than a 5.1. Your most important part, in my opinion, is the BD lag. So in this case, I would heavily put a limit on R224. Okay, it coincidentally aligns with the 103. But even if the 224 was like right over here, I would have kind of taken that into account over like my kind of x to b being a 0.41 instead of a 0.382. So for sharks, I always recommend to heavily keep track of this BD like because you need that to be into tolerance. I'm just gonna mark. This is actually like this D point right over here. This is a really nice level. See shark x2a. It's a really nice level because it's an exact 113 in this one and a 224 in this one. I'm not gonna manually draw it again for the reason that, well, that would take a lot of time again, and I still want to look at a bunch of coin requests, right? There's a bunch of requested coins, so I want to look at those as well. So I'm just gonna keep it like this, and this is gonna be our PRZ, with our most important part being at the bottom. So I think this level, like this 56.7 level, I think that's gonna catch a really good reaction. That's kind of a 1 hour order block. Zoom out a little. Daily, no. 12 hour, no. Okay, there's not really any like order blocks there. Do we have our do we have any volume profile complements here? So I'm gonna just take the Gartley wave again. No, not really either. If I were to take this, for example, I think we do. Yeah, it's slightly below that point. I don't know. We don't really. I don't think we have any significant confluence here. I do think by the looks of it, I think we're building up another wick over here for like a potential drop on like a different time on a Monday or something. Because we don't seem to be like accepting below the PLC. So I think this is gonna go higher first. That is pure assumption. Yeah, we tap this. I don't know. I do like the reaction to our PLC. I think we could possibly fill the short orders here. Okay, so this is a nice area for potentially a reversal. Let's see. These are kind of equal up here, so I don't think we find anything there. Do we have a kind of 5-0 situation going on over here? Not really. There should be more actually. I think there should be, yeah. Okay, so this would be, yeah, I wouldn't really deem this valid. It's gonna line on like kind of the same spot anyway. No, okay, that's not valid. No, I'm just gonna keep this shark over here for now. I think this is gonna be a very good level. If we bounce anywhere, it's either gonna be on this shark, or it's gonna just be on this Gartley PRZ again, which we had like kind of over here. Because that was a really nice reaction on the first tab. So for like kind of a shorter term, like for like the upcoming days, probably like Monday or Tuesday, right? Because volatility is coming back on the week. I would either look in this area for shorts or in this area for longs. But since my like higher time frame bias, so what we drew early on the daily, since that bias is bearish, I would rather look for the shorts up here than the longs up here. So the longs down here, I'm gonna look for like a specific reaction before I actually take them, while these shorts up here are gonna be like a main focus point. So I do think this is like a really nice area over here. We had like a kind of butterfly, a bat, this order block, and we had VAH. If we draw it from the Gartley wave, we had VAH in like the same spot. So let's kind of remove this arrow, and I'll make a screenshot out of this. And just put it in chat for anyone who wants it. So I think we either tap this area and drop, or we tap this area and increase. Here, like this as well. So I think for like a kind of shorter time frame, I think these two are going to be my main levels. And I do, before we move on to other coins, right, before we move on to a bunch of alts, I do want to say that this is my main target for now. So the reason for that is because, well, we obviously have the same channel again, right? It's gonna should use that to explain something. We have the same channel again, right? Where we really respect the range highs, we really respect the range mid and the range low as well, deviated below. Oh, it's the same channel, which is where we get our bearish bias from at the moment because of this rejection at mid range. And I kind of zoom in, and we seem to be, rejecting this 618 point on the channel as well. So I think if we close below, we can at least see this line, right? That would be the logical next step. So we close below the 618 and we drop lower. I think that is going to be a 786 or a 707. Yeah, 707. So that's where we get our bearish bias from. And because we rejected mid-range on the daily, my main target is still range low right over here, right? This highlighted black line. And we do have this kind of slightly iffy deep crab over here. But we do... Does this get tapped, actually? No, it didn't. Okay. And we do have an alt bout right over here. So this would be a nice area to react. So that is still my main target. Okay. And then before I move on to your coin suggestions, do you have any questions regarding that or regarding BTC in general? Or the markets, well, a chart, it's all fine. I'm just gonna go on a different chart, see what everyone suggested. Okay, we do have Ondo. I'll just rechart this because this is a pretty easy one to chart. Okay, I just got a fresh chart. I think that's the best. Yeah, that works. Okay, nice. Okay, let's take a look at Ondo. One of the first examples. So, how I approach charts like these, right? Ondo is a relatively new coin. So, what you're gonna often see on coins like these is that they will always form this kind of mountain at the start, right? Which a lot of these kind of coins have, right? Something like TIA, Arbitrum, say, like all of these kind of new coins have this kind of mountain at the start, and that mountain at the start is an absolutely great place for harmonics. For example, if I were to go on TIA, we can see like this kind of mountain at the start here, where you formed not only a bat, you formed a shark here as well. I just don't have it marked. And you formed a deep crab on the way down again. Most of these new coins, if they were to actually like keep going, right? If they were to keep the hype going, because TIA has a lot of hype, right? It is kind of taking that down, but this is still the same coin as it was at $20. So to keep that hype going, most of these coins start forming bats, garties, or sharks usually. And then on the way down, I would also look for some kind of smaller time frame harmonics for continuation. So whenever I look at these kind of new coins, I will look at this kind of mountain on the left at first, chart some higher time frame levels, and then I would go to like this kind of last part of said mountain and just look for an entry point. And if I find like a good entry point that aligns with one of the harmonics on a higher time frame, then I will look for an entry there. Simple as that. So in this case, kind of cheating because I already charted Ondo a lot, right? So I don't need to take a lot of time on this one. We had this kind of wave structure right over here for a Gartley 786 right over there. Much as a Gartley, and some piece of advice for everyone that trades harmonics: if you use the 24-hour time frame and the daily time frame, which is the same thing, right? If I swap, you don't actually see anything swapping. The only thing that matters is on some indicator charts, so like USDT dominance, BTC dominance, those kind of things. The wicks might be different, but apart from that, on actual coins, everything stays the same, but you can hide your low time frame harmonics. So for example, this one is now not visible on the daily. So if I want to look at the daily on like a higher time frame perspective, I can't see it. So if I were to draw a bunch of harmonics like this, and I draw them on a lower time frame as well, right? I have all of these tags on the 24-hour time frame, and if I were to go on a daily time frame, they're gone. So I can zoom out whatever I want. So that really helps with clarity. Because that way, if I want to zoom out and not get caught in all of this chaos, I just go on the daily and it's gone. So with that being said, we have kind of Gartley to deep Gartley structure over here on this 786. And I'll draw the deep Gartley as well right over there. Bounce nearly exactly off of that. Actually, I should make that a template as well. Deep Gartley X2A. Okay, so these are immediately levels of interest, right? Because these are quite higher time frame harmonics. And I posted this one before we were dumping as well, right? Like literally the night before, because I was looking at spot orders. So I just posted this in chat everywhere. To say like, hey, if we ever reach this level, I think this is a must-hold level for Ondo, so I think it's a good bid. And I do think we also have a bat over here. Yeah. So we also have a bat over here. Somewhere right over there. So these would kind of be my macro levels for Ondo. This is like every time we touch these levels, I think these are good buys. And you would obviously, for like how you would regulate DCA spot, right? You would start light and go heavier the lower you go. So let's say you want to put 1k into Ondo, you would do like 200, 300, 500, something along those lines. The main idea, because the numbers don't matter too much, like the rule of thumb would be 1.7 times higher, but the numbers don't matter too much. You just don't want to DCA the heaviest at the start, because if you were to DCA heaviest at the start, let's say you start with that 500, right? So that's going to be your average, and then you bid 300 here. That's going to be like, well, your average now is not going to be, say I have this position, right? 500 here and a 300 over here. Your average is not even going to be in the middle, which would be 500, 500, but it's going to be like up here. So price reach this point, and I still don't really have a good entry. And let's say you then reach this level and you put 200 in over there. Well, it's going to be like somewhere over here. Where if you were to go start light and go heavier, you would go from this entry to somewhere over here, like slightly down the middle, right? And then like somewhere over here, because you're DCAing so much heavier on the bottom. Can we dump below 0.50 Ondo? Okay. Do I think Ondo has such a lack of demand that it can get there? No, I don't think we can organically get below 50 cents Ondo, because I don't think Ondo is worth anywhere near that amount. I think Ondo is worth a lot more than that, and a lot of people think that, so that is why the chart looks like this, right? That is why you were uptrending while every single altcoin was dying. So organically, no, I don't think we get there. But if let's say something like a war breaks out or monkeypox or whatever like kind of news event you need for that, right? And BTC were to actually go to that kind of macro target of like 44 to 42k ish, which is a big if, right? That is a very big if. But if that happens, then yes, I think we can see these bids fill. So I don't think we realistically get below this level. But there is a chance. So because there is a chance, I'm just keeping some USDT so I can bid when we get to this level. Because I am someone that heavily believes that you should not look to catch like every bottom. Like you should not look to put everything in at this point. Because you don't want to... I mean, you want to make the most profit possible. But you don't need to catch every move with your full port, right? You just want to keep going up consistently. You don't need your P&L chart to look like this. Because if you want your P&L chart to look like that, your P&L chart is often going to look like this. And you don't want that. The ideal scenario, what you want for your P&L chart, is for it to look just something like this, right? You just want to be growing, and dips are normal, but you don't want like these massive volatility spikes. You don't want to like have liquidation as a possibility at the start. So to do that, what I do is I keep like kind of USDT on hand to just bid these lower levels if we ever get them. And if we do, well, that's great because I now have a really good average, right? If all of these would hit, I would have an average somewhere around here. And having an average on Ondo at like 43 cents is really good. I'm obviously talking about this position, right? I was here in the Discord when everyone was like talking about Ondo here early, so my average is 0.27 in reality. But for a new position, even though I have an existing position, I would still look to just play it like this. If I don't have a position, I would play it the exact same way. I would start here, DCA heavy here, DCA heavy here, just in case, because I want to protect myself against being wrong. So these will be my like kind of high time frame levels on Aldo. And if I were to zoom in, I think the guard was somewhere over here, right? Yeah, we had a nice touch of that over here. And I think this was a B2C extension. Yeah, it was also a good example of why I like drawing my PRZs manually. If you were to just take the X to A, for example, in this chart, you would take an X to A 0.786, right? Which, in this case, would not have hit. But considering the B to A extension or A to B negative extension, right? Well, we just hit the 1.272 of that harmonic we have right over here. And we are essentially at the 786. It's like slightly above it, but we are essentially there. So by drawing your PRZ manually, you will get something like this, where, hey, touch that PRZ, and that is my first order filled, right? You will be in profit. Which is really nice. It's another example of why I like to do that. So I think this will be a good level to bid on Ondo, but it does highly depend on both BTC and BTC dominance, because if BTC actually ends up going to the targets we drew earlier, then this level will likely not hold, and we would have to at least look for a deep Gardley instead. So the deep Gardley would be, let's say, draw it like this. Yeah, I think our deep Gardley levels would be somewhere right over there. So this one, let's see. And we can already see a nice little fib cluster forming. So I can just take this as my deep Gardley PRZ. So I think if BTC were to actually go to our targets, then we would look for some bids right over in this box. So that would be, we would either take a play like this, or we can put our stop loss just below that PRZ. And our finance P, we just take A for now. That would be one possibility. The other one would be to just play this one. And just play this PRZ. And then, for example, just put our, just put our stop loss slightly below the Gardley X to A. In case we like kind of weight down. Same target. Play this with DCS as well. You could also play this as a trigger play, right? Where it just kind of wicks in, closes above, and then you enter on the close, and stop loss below the wick. That's also completely possible. These plays, essentially for every play that I'm charting this stream, the entries are entries I would take. But the stop loss is not necessary because I usually look for triggers, and then my stop loss depends on that trigger. So if we wick below and then close above, I would just put my stop loss below that. Or slightly below that, right? Like I explained earlier, I would just take a fib of that wick and then just put my stop loss below that. So that's for essentially every play I draw on these streams. Make sure to, one, chart it yourself as well, and two, the stop losses I use in these plays are not, most likely not the stop loss I would actually go with the play. They're just a level that looks good for a validation. So I think that's it for Ando. I'll put both the Ando charts in chat. Kind of have, yeah, I'll show exactly what I use this for. Right over here. Because now, even though we drew a lot of stuff on the lower time frame, I can just press the daily and ta-da, it's gone. And I have the exact same chart in front of me. So that is it for like kind of higher time frame play, and these would be possible bits for a lower time frame. Okay, let's look at AVAX. And now I've got eyes on me because I saw Vega join, and I know he's really big on AVAX. So now we've got eyes. Okay, let's look at AVAX. AVAX from a macro perspective, you can already see because this is the chart I used in an old play. AVAX from a macro perspective looks really good. I think AVAX looks fantastic. We have a, it's called, oh, wrong tool. We have a deep Gartley right over here, which has to be drawn off the listing wick, which is kind of awkward, but it's completely fine. Because it's like an actual complete macro harmonic, I'm just gonna fully use the fib for it instead of drawing it manually. I can put text on these, right? Oh, right over here. So that's your deep Gartley X to A. Text on the right. And I'll take the 786 as well as a level. Or at least 786. Okay. So we already have two like kind of high time frame levels, which you can see are getting respected quite a good amount. This 886 is kind of getting respected less. But we do see the 786 acting as support like at a later date. So this is a very important level for us. And we can also see this absolutely like, this is a really nice touch. I really like that. So I do think this deep card is back into play. And something I specifically noticed on AVAX while charting higher time frames is that AVAX is actually following, I think this is actually the lowest point in AVAX. AVAX is like almost perfectly following this kind of type 1 to type 2 structure. Oh, actually, it's really convenient that I'm streaming in this server because I can very easily pull them up now. So, where's the type 2 cheat sheet? It's right over there. You can kind of see this really nice structure forming where this is nearly textbook type 1 to type 2 harmonic wave progression. So, when you have your harmonics, right? There are two ways to draw to P's. One is you draw your two P's from A to your D point. If you do that, we slightly front ran it. What I personally do, because I really like the way that these kind of harmonic ratios were initially used for harmonics, right? Like in the first books Carney made, especially. I just use this as a full wave. So I take my A point to the lowest point after that, and that's where I get my TPs from. So TP number 1 is going to be the 0.382, and number 2 is going to be the 618. Well, what do we see? We saw a really nice reaction off of that initial reversal zone right over here. We saw that initial reaction, we tapped the 0.382 on the weekly, and we did not close above. So what did that tell us? Well, because we didn't close above this TP, we can expect lower. We can expect this type 2 return, highlighted right over there. So we get a type 1 reaction, then we get a type 2 return. So what can we expect next? After we clearly respect the 0.886, right? We are clearly still in this wave because we respect the 0.886 so much. What can we expect? We can expect a T2. So my thesis for AVAX on a high time frame would be to go to like 94-ish. Do we actually tap that level exactly? I don't know. But I do think we go back, at least tap that 0.382 again, probably the 0.618. And to support that, we bounce off of a 618 from this kind of wick over there, so we can assume that we have a Gartley or like another Gartley or deep Gartley forming, or even a crab if you're really optimistic. But I don't think we're gonna fill the crab. So I'm just gonna use this one again. And we have our Gartley 786 right over there, so we have our 886 right over here. Just gonna mark them out like this. And we also have a monthly order block right over there. So there's order block. I'm gonna make it a bit more light. Just like that. So on a high time frame, I think AVAX goes over here. I think that is our main target. Put that chat already. This will be our main high time frame target for AVAX. Then if we zoom in, what does it look like down here? It honestly looks a lot healthier than most altcoins. You can instantly see that. This is going to be valid cipher. I don't really like trading ciphers, but there is one, so I'll put it up there. At least I think it's going to be a valid cipher. No, that's way too low for a cipher. Oh, we are actually reclaiming it. Okay, that is pretty good. So if to know about the cipher tool, is the cipher tool takes this 786 measurement not from point A, but from point C. So if you ever wonder which tool to use, you essentially use the XABCD for every single one of Carney's harmonics, so everything except for the cipher. You can use it for the shark. You can use the cipher tool for the shark, but you need to kind of manually check the measurements because sometimes it can be very off. So, especially because I know some people are recommending to use the cipher tool for crabs and butterflies as well. That is very bad because your ratios are going to be extremely off. I think I actually have made a chart to kind of showcase that. So I just pulled it up real quick. Yeah, I actually do. Couldn't paste. The image is too big. That is a shame. Is this going to be readable? That's the question. No, okay. It's not entirely readable, so I won't keep it up here for long. But you can kind of see what I tried to highlight here is that if you use the XABCD tool, you can see this kind of manual fibs being on the exact same spot for the butterfly, right? They're exactly a D because I always see like tailor the measurement to be perfect. It's a perfect 786, 382, 2618, 1272. So these are perfect. If I were to use the exact same measurement on the cipher tool, your fibs are going to be way lower because these tools measure differently, so you can't really interchange the harmonics. So you need to use the XABCD tool for these. You can use it for the shark, it's possible, but you need to check it. I'm gonna put this one in chat as well. So that's it for high time frame AVAX. I'm gonna mark his 786 real quick. Okay, so we seem to be trying to reclaim this level. Yeah, we're trying to reclaim this kind of 786, so that could mark for a good level if we also have lower time frame harmonics that like align with it. But I think we do, because AVAX does look pretty good. So we should have some. And there's a 0.46, I don't really like that. That deep crab is gonna go somewhere over here. So there is one, I think. I think there's a deep crab here. No, actually, you're gonna validate it. I have a 5.0. No, this is kind of too high for a 5.0, so that's gonna be like a 3.2 measurement or something. It's way too high. I don't think we have any. We might have some if you take a measurement a bit differently. So I could take this shark, for example, time frame around. If I draw it from this point. No. I don't know. I would not see anything valid here. I could try to stretch it a bit and kind of make some, but I don't think we have any around CMP. So I would look for slightly lower before we properly reclaim. That is wild, actually. It's been a while since I've opened an altcoin chart that doesn't have anything that instantly sticks out. Yeah, that was wild. So we do have a butterfly forming. That would be nice. Butterfly inside of that order block. Can take this also next to the 0.2 BD. So I can just take that. Put it back there. So this would be a nice level for AVAX. That is quite a bit lower already. So a butterfly PZ right over there. And I think that would also align with our lower time frame fly-in profile. Doesn't. No, okay. I'm not so sure in AVAX on a lower time frame. This doesn't look too decisive. You could try and start like drawing something like a trend line, right? Which we seem to be breaking, something like this, but you can't even really get 3 touches without it being invalidated, like right over there, right? You got kind of disrespected there. So I'm not really sure on low time frame AVAX. I am really sure on high time frame AVAX. So if I were to play AVAX, I would like kind of start buying on this 786 for a starter position. 786 we drew earlier. Then DCA the butterfly or like DCA the deep guardly, and maybe put a stink bid somewhere in this box just in case, but I don't see a clear level to bid, right? So I do think AVAX looks really good on a high time frame, and I know the BTC pairing is really good as well, but I wouldn't necessarily have like a low time frame play to bank on. Maybe this butterfly though. Where's weekly open? Weekly open right over there. Yeah, we did reclaim weekly open at least. That's good. Yeah, no, I think that's it for AVAX. I might look at this again later and see if I can get a good play, because I do like the way that butterfly is forming. And we should also have something off of this area. Be deep crab there. Wait, I could actually be deep crab there. No, that's not enough. That is slightly off. No, okay. No, I think that's it for AVAX, honestly. Then you can take a look at Myro. Yeah, no, the BTC pair is good. That for sure. If I go on the like the BTC pair for AVAX, the BTC pair on AVAX looks really good. Also, like high time frame looks good again. I have it charted already, but I can like chart it again real quick. So like we have a bet here on this 886. And I think this is a really good level, right? I think this level for AVAX is incredible. Then if I zoom in on AVAX, the low time frames have a very similar bet. Well, low time frames, I'm still on a daily, right? Wait, what? Where was it? I can, if you were to take it on like a higher time frame, for some index charts, I allow myself to put it on like the B point on the candle closes instead of the wicks, but I don't usually like doing that. But if you do, you're gonna find this 886 on like kind of the exact same spot. So for AVAX, I think the high time frame still look great. For a low time frame, I think it looks good as well, because you are still putting in like decent price action, right? This looks good, and we are probably still playing this wave. If I were to draw these fibs even, I think you are just taking a slightly lower progression wave, but I think it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, I think you're just playing the same wave here. You're just bouncing off the 1414 instead. And one right over there. It makes sense that we're bouncing off this level. We have this we have the 113 and a 1414 right over here. I would still probably, I think this looks good and it supports the idea of like starting a position, right? If you were not in, I think this is a good place to start a position on AVAX. And what I would do is I would start a position here, right? Because high time frame on the USDT pair looks good. High time frame on the BTC pair looks good. This is a good place to start a position. And then I would either look to add lower. I'm just gonna duplicate this one. I'm gonna use the USDT chart for it. So if I zoom in on this one, what I would personally do is I would look to start a position, then either DCA somewhere in this area, right? This way I will start DCAing in. Or alternatively, if you can see this happen on the BTC pair, where we start going above and start getting back above this kind of 886, right? Because that is an 886 on like a kind of mid to high time frame, and that is an 886 on a very high time frame. So I think that is a very important 886. So I would either DCA lower after starting my position, or I would DCA higher and just buy up if we start flipping this area to support. Because you have everything on your side, right? The charts look really good in general. But the entry is a bit iffy. Because you are trying to reclaim levels, and you are just trying to bounce back after taking liquidity, but you don't have any confirmation yet that the downtrend we're in is going to end. So for example, and I'll do something very uncharacteristic, right? I'm going to purely use market structure for this. If you're already in a position, I would say like, okay, we have, like, let's say, we have like a kind of daily high over here, right? I will probably count it as a 12-hour high, but we have that over here. So let's say you have a small position, and you go above, and you start flipping this to support. Your BTC pair will probably look really good at the same time. I just kind of add to my position here, right? Just buy some extra spot. I just average up. Because I am a big fan of not only DCAing down, right? If you're buying a coin like this, and you're like, well, I'm not like slightly higher, but like look at how far we have to go. Look at my time frames, right? Look at my targets. Like your first very good TP would probably be this 786, because you are bearishly retesting this, right? After failing the retest over here. So because this is gonna be your first like heavy TP probably, Well, that is still like 42% up from your like average up, right? So in short, start a position here, buy higher or buy lower. That is what I would do. You'd see pair for Confluence, same idea here. I think this is a very good reaction, especially off of this kind of pip cluster that we've created, right? I think this is a really good reaction. And I will probably just either buy higher or like buy slightly lower if it touches kind of 1.5, or if we, for example, wick this liquidity over here and close above. Oh yeah, no worries, mate. It was good seeing you, Magnifique. Nice having you. So yeah, I think the BTC pair really complements that. I think the BTC pair looks really nice. Okay, the next suggestion was Myro, and Myro is one of which I actually think it looks really good. Because Myro had this kind of alt bat, or like bat going on. I don't know what we had. Yeah, we had a... Yeah, that kind of... The 8C is kind of iffy. I don't know if I would still count that valid. I counted it valid in the past, but I've started being a bit more strict on my harmonics because I mainly trade them, right? I only trade harmonics as a main confluence, and everything else is just to add. So I know Myro has this really nice alt bat over here, which we seem to be showing a good reaction to, actually. I'm gonna actually properly draw this. I'm gonna use a pip for it. Use this accented right. Okay. That is such a nice reaction, actually. Look at that. We just wick below for liquidity. Yeah, there were like wicks over here, right? You can see these wicks. We just wick below for liquidity and didn't even close a single daily candle below. We didn't close a single daily candle below that alt bat. Yeah, I think this looks really good. I like this. If I were to take a full volume profile. No, okay. That makes sense if we bounce off of that. If I were to only take it from the bad starting point, we are still below that. Okay. Do we have anything? Yeah, we have a weekly order block actually. That one had not been filled before until then. Didn't touch that midpoint yet. It's gonna change it to one of these. Okay. I think this looks really good. Because we wicked all the way through, right? We completely tapped that weekly order book, right? We had kind of these equal lows over here to some extent. And we just completely wicked through that close above. We didn't even accept below the 113, which is a really good sign. So I honestly think, if you want Myro, I think this is really good level to bid. And we also, because people that have seen me chart a lot know that I don't like chart patterns if they don't mean something, right? So for example, a symmetrical pennant or something like that, I don't like it. But something like this, where price is clearly showing compression, and it's taking liquidity on the way down, because like we have these kind of lows over here, lows over here, lows over here. We take all of that out, right? And then we leave all of our highs intact. Now that is a pattern I do use, because that is something in my eyes that tells me a story, because that tells me, okay, we are compressing, one, so pressure is building. And what are we going to do with that pressure? Well, the build-up pressure we have, well, where do we go? Like, we have like kind of this wick over here, which we can take. There's probably some liquidity there. Probably some people have put their stop loss there. Maybe some people over here, like slightly lower, right? Which would be like one leg lower, but that's about it. But then we look to the upside, and it's like, well, we have this wick, we have these, like this entire area, we have these. There's a lot of reason for us to go up. So that build up pressure if that is actually going to end up hunting liquidity, it is very likely to go up, which is why I do like patterns like these. So RSI is probably bull dipping as well. Yeah. 3-day not yet. 2-day not isn't eating. Right, there's actually more than... Yeah, this is way better actually. So where to... Is it a 113 as well? Yeah, it is. Okay. So that is a 113 as well. And probably I think it's a 1314 in the wick. That was a 127. Yeah, so essentially a 127 on the wick as well. This combined with... Okay, for everyone that doesn't know about harmonics but hasn't read like the books or hasn't studied them in depth, something a lot of harmonic traders often forget or don't use or don't know is that you can use something called RSI band, where you can combine your kind of fib ratios with the RSI. That is why it's so high up now. By doing this. Step 1, price enters an oversold area while forming an harmonic, right? We have our X, we have our A, B, C. We have all of those. So we enter the oversold area. I'm going to just draw a line from that. Can I actually magnet this? I can't. Just going to draw a line like this, right? We entered the oversold area. 26-ish was our max. We went back above. I'm fully charting the RSI, by the way. I'm not looking at the chart. We went back above. We tapped mid-range. That is very important for this, right? We tapped the middle. We tapped the 50 level. We went back below. We formed a bull div. And then closed above again. This process, this is called a full... Like, this is a full RSI band process. And while doing that, so while forming that kind of higher low on the RSI, right? Get to the oversold level, tap the 50 level, and then form a higher low on the RSI, which is confirmed the moment you close above that 30 level. Then when doing that, we can pull that kind of fib that we just pulled, and we can find, okay, so from that point, it's gonna, it doesn't do it again. So from that point, from our oversold point, that is right over here, right there, to our highest point on the RSI. Right over here. You can use the highest point on the RSI, you can also use the highest point of price action. You will see that by the fibs moving, it will give you the same result. Either the 1.272 touches perfectly, or the 113 does. So it doesn't matter that much. So, highest oversold area, and then the highest point of RSI gets, or the highest point on price action. And if that aligns with a proper harmonic ratio, so 113 and 1272, I think the 141 is one as well, and especially the 1618. If it aligns with that at the same spot where RSI like kind of gets back into this range, this is called RSI band. So this reaction is extremely good, because this reaction indicates that we are reacting to this PRC, and this needs to happen inside of a PRC of a harmonic, right? That is what it's for. It's for confirming reactions to harmonics. And in this case, this looks pretty confirmed to me, because it closed below a few times, went back above, reclaimed that 30 level, and on price action itself, we kind of just wicked through and it closed above the PRZ. So I think this is a really good reaction. And if you want to buy Myro, if you have, or you want to add some meme coins in general, I think Myro is probably a pretty good coin to buy here. Yeah, invalidation would just be to close like kind of the weekly below this level. So I would put a soft stop on a weekly close below this. Yeah, if we close a weekly below that level, that would probably be my invalidation. So what kind of stop loss do you end up with? It's still going to be a hefty one, right? Oh, it's like 18%, which for meme coins is really good, honestly. Like, especially because Myro probably doesn't actually have that high of a market cap. So, one market cap real quick. Let's see. What market cap are we dealing with? Weird. Yeah, okay, never mind. That completely... 70 million on this coin. A 20% invalidation on a 70 million market cap coin is incredible. So yeah, I like this coin. I am probably just gonna use some of my like on-chain allocation to buy some of this because I really like this. Now, one thing to note is obviously it's a lower market cap meme coin. This is more risky than normal. But I've seen what some people in here are trading, right? I think everyone got in on like the, what was it called again? It was like one of the birds or something. That was actually a really good show by Ponzi. Did like a 50x. But still, it's like your risk is higher on these. But I do think if you like it and if you have some allocation for meme coins, I think Myra looks really good. Sure, your potential is amazing, right? Your potential is so high. Because even to, let's just draw the technical targets, right? Let's just use these to just 0.382 and 0.618. Your downside is going to be like 20%-ish, right? Your upside is 115 for TP1 and like 200 for TP2. Even if you were to just CMP it, then it's still 110 or 190%. I think this is good. I would personally use obviously smaller allocation for it because it's a low market cap meme coin, but I think it's good in general. I really like this one. Just gonna move this up and put it in chat. It's like that. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? And then while you're putting that in chat, I'm gonna get some more water because it's really hot over here. All right. Yeah, the weather's been like absolutely killing me the last few days. I hate it when it's like hot and humid and etc. Okay, let's get on Say. Say and a Nasdaq. Those are the last two suggestions from chat. Okay, let's see. Say is doing the same thing I described at the start of the stream, right? It is doing the kind of mountain thing that a lot of new coins do, where they start getting traction and they just make this big old negative smiley. I actually have a chart for that, right? They literally just do this. You just see this massive, like, unhappy face. This is essentially just what every new coin looks like nowadays. So, this chart, kind of a mountain of sadness, right? That is really good for harmonics usually, because you can get some really good levels out of it. I'm once again cheating because Say is a coin I chart a lot. I think there was a shark-ish here. So what if we draw it from here? Do we get better ratios? We'll have to stick it up here. Okay, the XTB is kind of iffy, but it is what it is. This is still very valid. Yeah, I take my XTB ratios as exact numbers, right? So I want a 0.382 or a 0.618. And the shark is the only one I will make that exception for. But in general, I take the exact numbers. If I were to actually draw appearances manually, you're gonna see that that looks like a pretty good. That was nearly a perfect 2.0 on the ABC or on the B2A. But actually, I can actually do that easier. It's like that. Make another one. Let's see, 2.4 or 2.24. Yeah, this is I really like this level per se. And what happens if I draw it from the C point instead? Don't really get anything meaningful. Okay. And we had the 886 over here. So my PUZ per se is just gonna be this. This is gonna be a shark PUZ. Say is also doing that thing I described earlier on my row, right? It is kind of doing that thing where price just compresses and compresses without taking liquidity to the upside. So all of the wicks are still there. There's still a bunch of liquidity. I'm not too strict on my trend lines because I obviously don't mainly trade trend lines. So I just put them there to indicate what price action is kind of doing rather than, hey, this is an actual exact trend line. So you will never see me trade trend line breakouts, right? So that's why I'm not too strict on the wicks, the candles, whatever. It's just to indicate, hey, price is compressing and going down. And I think we have more. We have a deep crab here. 1618, right over there. That should be somewhere over there. Crab X-ray. We seem to be we got back above it actually. I know some people in here played this like this exact deep crab because I saw Ethan post it. I posted it as well because both of us still still looking safe for some reason. That was actually jokes. I think Saves are really good. I really like Say in this area specifically. Yeah, so I think we're going for this on Say. Remove these two for clarity. I think we're just putting in a type 1 to type 2. So this is our like type 1 reaction. We hit the T1, we reversed, and we are now reclaiming this level with a sweep. Because keep in mind, sweeps are allowed for type 2 reactions, right? They happen very often. Very often what you'll see after a type 1 to like your TP1 is you will actually see these lows get swept, and then you want them to just be reclaimed. So I personally just enter on the reclaim of that X to A level. I put my stops below the sweep. So for that, my play would look something like this. And that would be the main TP. We could be front running it. Maybe we come back. This would be the main play I will be looking for. And we do have a bunch of other stops. We have, if I remember correctly, we have like 2 bats and a 3 drive as well. But I'm just gonna look at this one because I have it fully charted. Yeah, we have, yeah, it was like the same shark and the same crab, and I think that was a 3 drives right over here. Does that count? No, where was it? Do you have it hidden? Actually, no, I do have it marked, but I haven't, or was it a 1618 3 drives? That could be the case as well. 3 drives are always a bit iffy, because your 5% will actually make it valid all of the time nearly. Yeah, so we have a 3 drives over here as well. So this is my buy box, I'll say. I bought spot on that dip over here. If we get back, I will probably just buy the Shark XA again, and my last bid is gonna be at like the 3 drives, which is way down, right? But I think if it actually gets there, well, I think that is a great opportunity for Say. I don't think it does, but I don't think we ever touch that 3 drives. I don't think we do, but it is a really good level, so I have it marked out. But in general, I think this is going to be the main bidding area. I think if you want Say, you just bid this box. So I have kind of the same box over here right now, right? Just put it from this one to this one. So like this, and buy zone. That is where I would look to buy, say. And I think this this chart looked good. I think say looks really good. Say BTC looks good as well. Not have it. No, say BTC had like this weird thing where Binance didn't list it for a long time. Say BTC is an absolute beauty. Just look at that. Where they just remove these real quick. We filled this fair value gap on the first reaction. We then went to the monthly order block. We nearly perfectly tapped that middle under the order block. And in general, we just like we have a bat here, and we have one here as well. Like I think in general, or like it's a deep guardy, right? Yeah, that's a deep guardy. In general, I think this is like a great spot to accumulate. Say it's one of the coins I always suggest when people are like, okay, what coins are like the heaviest on, or like on the heaviest discount, right? I think Say is up there. I think Say is really good coin from a price perspective, right? For actual like fundamentals, I always only recommend one, obviously Bitcoin, like excluding that. And from a fundamental perspective, I think Aave and Ondo are fantastic. Those are like the only coins I have that I bought purely on fundamentals. And in Ondo's case, it is now also a free back, right? So I don't worry about it too much. But in Aave's case, I think Aave is finally showing strength. I think that is good. But that's it. That's it for Say. Your macro targets, right? If we start picking up the pace again, and we start actually flipping, for example, on BTC the daily into a bullish market structure again, your main targets are going to be this. But I would personally be really surprised if we don't at least reach $1 this cycle. It would highly surprise me, because the moment you get to a point like this, right, people are gonna target $1 instantly. So you can at least get like 98 cents ish. Like it probably gets front ran a bit, but like $1 is such an obvious target. Like for the same reason where I assume we don't actually reach 100k BTC exact, but people are gonna target it. So there's a pretty good chance that we at least get very near it. Even though my main target is like 84k ish, but it's like obvious targets like that are always just targeted because people are just gonna be like, okay, oh, where do I put my TP? Oh, it's at $1. I'll just put it at $1. Like sometimes it's literally that simple, right? People just like the round numbers. But in general, this would be your main technical target. And an important thing to note, because you are playing off of a shark, is that we have a 5-0 as well. So if you are actually playing this for a longer amount of time, this would be a heavy TP or a head short, but I think in this case it will be a heavy TP because this is a 5-0. Because sharks tend to form 5-0s, and 5-0s are bearish patterns in this case. Bullish shark means bearish 5-0. Bearish shark means bullish 5-0. So I think this would be like your final technical target-ish. This would be your actual like main heavy TP, and where you would like reevaluate your position, right? If the market is really weak at that point, or like showing major, like it's starting to show weakness, or like BTC dominance is going on another run, then you might want to reevaluate your position once you get to that 5-0, right? Because a 5-0 is usually a very good spot to be. So I think this, I just send another one and just delete the old one. I think this would be the main play. Okay, last one of the original suggestions, NASDAQ. Well, first of all, this is my macro NASDAQ chart. I shared like because my brother Magnifique keeps requesting it. I think it's Magnifique, right? Yeah, it's Magnifique. And this is actually pretty relevant for stocks, for like crypto nowadays, because we are following it more and more. So this is what we rejected off of. We rejected off of this deep crab. I shared this play, but I didn't actually, like I also said in the play, I'm not taking it. I don't trade options. But one thing that is important to note, which I'm mainly looking at, is actually I'll put it on clear just so it's easier to see. I'll just make the lines a bit less thick. We kind of front ran this level. I think there's a 0.314 there. Okay, we kind of front ran TP1, which is usually a really good sign of strength. So although I would kind of count this as, okay, we have kind of T1, if we go back, I would count it as a T2 reaction. But I don't think we actually get that reaction. Because we front ran this, I expect us to flip this to support instead. So what I expect to happen on this is if we don't immediately reject this, or reject to 114, right? We can still reject to 114. But if we don't instantly reject this or the 114, I expect us to flip this like little box we have over here to support. And we can take a long based on that. We can just play it like this. Especially for stocks, it is important to know you can actually long bearish harmonics, so you can short bullish harmonics. What you need to do for that is you just need to kind of manually draw the PRZ. And then just look for a flip. Like the same way you would do so with like support resistance areas. You would just look for a flip of that area and then you can just take a long on a bearish harmonic. Oh yeah, see you, Age. Thanks for coming. So let's say in this case, if I were to draw the progression harmonics again, right? We have nothing of relevance right over there, because this is a pattern that goes off the ABCD mainly. I would count kind of this as our PRZ, right? This is like a 127, something like that. If I count this as our PRZ. Yeah, let's see you. Thanks for coming. So if I would count this as our PRZ, what I'm gonna look for potentially is, let's say we kind of get above this level, right? We get above. We tap the level again, like we kind of wick through, and then we close a significant candle above, so like a daily, a 3-day, a weekly, something like that. If we then close above, I would consider this PRZ flipped, and I would consider a long. I don't actually trade options, but this would be a long. So on confirmation, I would look to actually long the bearish harmonic. But that is only on confirmation. It's an if this happens, then we take a long. It is not a play I would just set a limit for, right? I'm not just gonna limit long this. If we flip, then I long. If we don't, if we react, I short. That is the main pieces on this one. And then on a shorter time frame, we have this kind of bad that is kind of just getting ran through. Where's it? 224? 224 is right over there. We're flipping that to support now. And I just take the 2 as a starting point. Something like that. So this is actually, we can see it happening over here, right? We can start seeing this happening right over here, where price action is so strong, and in harmonics you wouldn't short this because this would very obviously count as extreme price action, right? Because your candles are heavily increasing in percentage moves. So this would not be a short because of the extreme price action. And then right over here, we are kind of just coming back into that bad PRZ, and especially this X2A levels just kind of getting flipped to support. So if we get some more confirmation, you can possibly just look to long it instead. You just long it to like the D point right over there, right? Which is something I always get a lot of question about, because I am someone who does this and I have signaled it in the past. But I always get a lot of questions about why I'm like long in bearish harmonics or shorting bullish harmonics. And it's like, if you look at harmonics from this perspective, it is actually just a box. It's like an SR area of like these FIB clusters and the ABCD, either alternations or just the ABCD patterns. It's like, it makes sense to long this if you flip it to support. Because in the end, all you're doing is you're just creating this high confluence area which you're expecting a reversal from. But if it doesn't happen and it comes back and rejects said area, you just take the play again, but in the opposite direction. Because it kind of just makes sense, right? That's what it would look for in Nasdaq. Okay, we have been streaming for quite some time, but I don't think we have time for one more coin. So if you guys have a good suggestion, I'll take a look at that, and then I'll look to wrap it up. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours already. That's actually crazy. And if not, then I do have a good suggestion. I'll wait a bit. See what he's up to. So dropping. Oh, it's not that bad actually. Okay, I just see Octopus stop typing the moment I mentioned that I had a good suggestion. Yeah, I'll just look at that one then. Yeah, look at this. I am personally looking at near. This was a play I shared earlier where I said we need to close like the daily above, and we didn't. So this play is no longer valid. She also shared, oh, that was actually really sad. Near is such a good play. Near, the main reason I'm looking at it is because we are reclaiming a very important level. If I were to go on a weekly, we have... Was it this one? I think it was this one. Or was it not? Oh yeah, it was butterfly, never mind. I think it was a butterfly. Deep crab, whatever. Wait, what was it? There was something over here. Shark. I think there was a guardian, but I don't think it's on this chart. I think that was it. It was a bat. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so we had this macro bat right over here, which we literally just came back to for a type 2-ish, right? Because if I were to draw my TPs, how I explained earlier in the stream, then we kind of tapped this 382, right? And we came back to that original 886 and we kind of tapped it. We front ran it by a very small amount, but we did tap it. And there was more over here. Just gonna cheat real quick. Ah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, it's dragged on the candle closes. That's why. Oh, so that was a 786 over there. So we just came back for that type 2, right? And I am looking for a reaction on this because 2 reasons. 1, macro chart looks really good. 2, fundamentals are good because Grayscale is like adding this to their fund, right? And there's a pretty decent allocation, and there has like attention. There was really strong in recent times, right? This coin kind of ran later than others, but we saw like this coin is strong. Like it is not like in the depth as some coins are. And we tapped some very important levels. Like we kind of filled this monthly order block right over here. And we just came back to retest this level in general, right? Tapped a bat for a type 2. And if you zoom in, it's like, well, I'm drawing all of this on the wrong chart. That's fine. Just gonna very quickly do it again. The monthly order block right over there. And what do we have? We had a bat right over there. Was sometimes I really should just enable Carney's indicator, but I'm very stubborn and I want to draw them myself because I wanna like really draw the things I fully understand. Like I don't want to just randomly be drawing things. It's whatever. We know there's a chart there. Sometimes it's different on different charts. So main reason, macro looks really good. And then if I zoom in on like a slightly lower time frame, we can see that we kind of have this arc build up of all of these untapped wicks right over there. So I went to check and Near has pretty negative funding. I think it was like minus 0.2%, which is quite a bit for a coin that has a lot of attention, right? It is not like in the crazy levels, but it is less than it should be. It's more negative than it should be. So I am looking for like a proper reclaim or a structure shift or anything I can properly pull a trigger on to like kind of get started on a position here. Because I think Near looks really good in general. So, for example, you can see that every time we have these kind of moves down now, we are forming harmonics, but we're not fully respecting them yet. So in my eyes, we are like making a wave, but we can't really actually get to them yet. So I'm expecting us to take some more liquidity. To like maybe wick this out or like wick this out, something like that, and then start going for an actual move. Because I do think Near looks really good for a proper move. For example, for someone like a bat right over there. Something like that. And then after that, what will we target? We would simply target eyes. So we know we have this kind of shark that we're reclaiming. We would in general just take this D point and we would target these highs. So that is what I'm looking at for Near. And Near is one of the main coins I'm currently looking at. For Spald as well, because this target would be way up in the air. This target is like plus 80%, right? Okay. I've been streaming for like nearly 2 hours. So I think that's going to be it for me today. I do have it recorded for people that want to like watch it back and stuff. And I am going to give more streams because I talked about it with Fonzie and we want to get more streams going. So I'm going to look to give one like about every week. Yeah, it was great seeing you. Thanks everyone for coming and especially like the coin suggestions and asking questions and stuff. I really like that. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording here.